Hi guys, I'm back today with a new video on one of the most vibrant DBs which are being used in let's say a cloud-based architecture. I think you would have guessed it is Amazon Dynamo DB. And if you guys have had any experience with AWS, which is the Amazon Web Services, or you would have had any experience with let's say the real-time experience with an Amazon Prime Day, which handles, let's say, multiple requests from the users on certain products, on certain offerings, etc. And there is a heavy load on that particular day. I think it falls somewhere in July. So that really shows the power of Amazon Dynamo DB actually in use. So this particular DB has the advantage that it is leveraged over your Amazon Web Services, and it is being offered as a service. So you have something like a database as a service DAS layer on top of the AWS. And what it does is it basically abstracts the entire mechanism of data storage, the entire mechanism of operating with the DB, and the entire mechanism of handling of the DB, the handling of the data going to different partitions, going to different layers, etc. From the application developer, from the life cycle of the development of the application, from the, let's say, the person who designs the entire architecture. It abstracts that particular layer from the actual consumer of the application. So what it does is the user, the application developer, the application architect really just interacts with the API layer of the database service, which is here DynamoDB, which is exposed via uh, Amazon Web Services or AWS. So what it does is basically you have an abstract layer of data, and this behind this data you have the database actually existing over the cluster, over the nodes. So what happens is when your application developer interacts with this particular DB, it does not do it directly, but it really interacts with this abstract layer. So all you have to do is really taking the advantage of the APIs which are exposed by AWS on the DynamoDB application service, and utilize basically the crude layers, the data retrieval layers, the data streaming layers, the multiple writes, consistencies on reads, etc. Everything is abstracted and you just interact with this API. So what happens is, let's say I want to develop something and develop an API, and I want to interact with that particular instance of DynamoDB. I would not do it directly, but I would do it through the layer, the service layer which is exposed. So this basically is the difference between your normal cluster-based DBs and your DynamoDB. And Amazon DynamoDB as well is a cluster. It stores in multiple nodes. Here the nodes are called as partitions, and you have the multiple replications over the nodes. So one data is stored in one of the live nodes and it is replicated over multiple partitions, which are the nodes here, and these partitions basically enable data redundancy as well as fault tolerance and high availability, which is the core of DynamoDB really. And if you see the layer, it has basically the application, your user application interacting with the DynamoDB API layer, and then you have several nodes below that, and these nodes are stored, these nodes or the partitions are basically stored on SSD disk, and uh, and the data which flows in are in the form of let's say columns. Those are basically columns and rows. Those are basically divided and stored into multiple partitions rather than being stored in one of the partitions, and replicated based on the replication factor. So you have the DAX streams, database Dynamo streams. So these Dynamo streams basically abstract the handling of the data, how the retrieval is happening, how the read is happening, how the streams are operated, how the layer operates, multiple layers of DynamoDB, how does it operates, all these mechanisms, right? So these are abstracted from the user, and what these additional Dynamo streams do is that it provides you a hook point really in the application, where you can extract out the transaction management, you can extract out the logs, you can extract out the events which are taking place in the DynamoDB, in order to be directed to other services of Amazon Web Services, or to your application layer, so that you can really hammer in the advantage of event-driven microservices. So this is where your event-driven concept of microservices, which I will speak about in a subsequent video, really pops in, really comes in. And then you have the Kafkas, you have the SNS, and you have various MQs, etc., which really listen over these events and perform operations, right? And really get the application into a completely self-driven, event-driven based microservice architecture. Okay, and one more important thing, really, just a quick water break, which I want to talk about is the DAX layer. So DAX layer, DAX layer in DynamoDB, what it does is it really provides you a caching mechanism which really exists in the DBs which you have seen earlier, MongoDB, Cassandra's, and really hammers in the advantage of retrieval of data quite fastly because it is in-memory cache. And this basically enables the faster retrievals over your multiple nodes. So this is the real the flow, the architecture of Amazon DynamoDB. And as I said before, if you really want to see the power of Amazon DB in action, you would have to observe the Amazon Prime Day, because that primarily operates over your Amazon DB, because such a vast amount of data is incident at that particular time, at that particular moment, which is being handled by such a distributed service of a DB. So this is what I wanted to talk about today, and thank you for listening to me, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, guys.